On this week's episode, the Foo Fighters' new movie, reviewing Studio 666, as well as remembering the music legend who was Taylor Hawkins. Also on this week's episode, an interview with a great man about the TV and film industry, everything that happens behind the scenes, as well as what we're watching. For the Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie, and we've got so much to talk about.
Let's go. All right, Jamie. This is the first time I've seen you since our raucous and our head-to-head bracket, our March Madness fight since last week.
It was rather cantankerous. Yeah. Feelings were hurt, I think.
Yeah, I think more so our spouses. I think their feelings were hurt the most.
Yeah.
I heard a lot about how certain movies were cheated, but that's neither here nor there. I think we're good with the final results. But speaking about those who got involved with our bracket, I guess not everybody agreed with us on the social media.
No,
is that right?
Well, more people agreed with you apparently.
Oh, is that right,
James? It was
crazy.
another James who's coming to your defense, Mr. James O'Leary, a good friend of mine, on our
James.
Facebook page says, because I had posted, our little battle over Seinfeld versus The Office. I was in the Office camp. You're in the Seinfeld camp. James O'Leary says, I think Seinfeld is the winner here. So many bits from that show are now parts of American culture. Yada, yada, yada. Spare a square, close talker, man hands, etc., etc., etc. But I feel like the same can be said about The Office. That there are a lot of things, at least in my house, where parts of that become, ubiquitous. But you know what? Everybody's allowed to feel the way that they feel. We're all still friends here, mostly. So
if you didn't catch last week's episode, check out our bracket. We did March Madness with the best TV comedy ensemble with shows including Parks and Recreation, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and New Girl. We put them all head to head, and we came out with our final results. We're interested to see what you think. Who should have won? But
join the battle.
That really, very contentious battle. But you can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, thank you so much. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And you can also listen to us on the go, on the road, on any major podcasting streaming service, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. But Jamie, without further ado, let's get right into this latest news because this is leading right into my review of Studio 666, which is the feature film debut of the band, the Foo Fighters. And this is just terrible what happened because the drummer of the Foo Fighters, Taylor Hawkins, he passed away. We learned about this on Friday at the age of 50 years old while the band was on tour in Colombia. Specifically. And it's really, very surprising and unexpected for everybody, of course. The Foo Fighters released a statement saying that the Foo Fighters family is devastated by the tragic and untimely loss of our beloved Taylor Hawkins. His musical spirit and infectious laughter will live on with all of us forever. Our hearts go out to his wife, children, and family, and we ask that their privacy be treated with the utmost respect in this unimaginably difficult time. And right now, the condolences and the words of love and support are echoing through the entire rock and roll and music community and industry right now, with everyone, Travis Barker from Blink-182, John Mayer, Ozzy Osbourne, Phil Collins, all sharing their experiences with Taylor Hawkins. And such a shame because not only did many of them consider him one of the best drummers of all time, Dave Grohl, of course, the lead singer of the Foo Fighters, he himself has multiple times on the record said that he believes Taylor Hawkins is the best and was the best drummer ever. And so it's just a terrible thing to see, especially with this new movie coming out.
Right, and especially while they were in the middle of a tour. They were performing in Lollapaloozas across Latin America. They were supposed to be in Brazil next. So it's just devastating. And, where do you go from there with the band? So it reminds me a lot of what happened with Linkin Park, with losing one of their main band members. So we send all of our love and condolences to the Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters being, one of my favorite bands, absolutely growing up.
Same here.
Of all time. And they really are, and they really are. They really do deserve it. But, you know, he did get to see the band get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And now they've come out with this movie, James. Now, this is an interesting story, right? Tell me how this movie came to be. Because it's not normal.
No. So Studio 666 is a comedy horror B movie that came out because I guess the Foo Fighters, their last album, they recorded it in a mansion in Encino, California. And I guess they had a lot more time with that mansion. So they figured, hey, you know, let's, while we have the space, why don't we just create this horror movie that Dave Grohl had this like general outline for years. And so it started as this small production, you know, shooting this small movie, and it eventually grew up with a larger budget, with more cameos, some cameos that I will not spoil, but some pretty fun cameos throughout the movie, and a pretty fun, again, B movie with a lot of I think humor, action, a lot of gore, guts, because it is a horror movie as well, and it's way over the top, way excessive. But yeah, so this is the same location that they filmed they recorded their last album, and they recorded their first film. And so basically, a studio. Yeah.
Sorry, where is this? Where has this come out on?
This is streaming everywhere online right now. So it's right now you have to rent it. So I actually rented it off Amazon Prime, and right now, because it is early access, it's $20 to rent, which again I feel like was nothing considering how fun this movie was. But Studio 666, we find Dave Grohl and his bandmates. They're trying to look for inspiration to create their 10th studio album, and they're recommended by their agent to do it at this mansion in California. But it turns out the mansion is haunted by demons, and the entire band is placed in this battle to not only finish the album, but to also survive. And this was surprisingly fun and surprisingly brutal. The murders, again, like I said, this has the vibe, the campy vibes of a B movie with these bandmates. That kind of feels like, you know, Josie and the Pussycats, like the band has to team up to solve this crime. It feels like a Scooby-Doo kind of mishmash situation. But we find Dave Grohl, he's like the lead, of course. He is the lead of the band, and so he's like the lead of this movie. But the rest of the bandmates, they really do, shine in their own way, and they're not the best actors, but that's what makes this movie perfect for a B movie. They don't need to be. And so I thought everybody had a great time. It looked like everybody was having a fun time shooting this film. And not only is it a funny, you know, at times gruesomely horror movie, but in all the right ways. This movie is also shot very well. Like, this could be one of those, simple money grabs. They just want to shoot this really quick thing with that much thought,
like a
just
Sharknado
make it bloody,
thing.
make it glory, make it cheesy, make it bad on purpose. But it's shot very well. There are several scenes where I was impressed by, and I like the direction. And so if you are a Foo Fighters fan, I do recommend Studio 666. Not only are you watching it because each of the bandmates and the movie is fun, but also, Taylor Hawkins, one of his last projects that he worked together with the band, with his friends. And so I think this has multiple things, to look at. Going into it.
It just seems like a good way to honor the band, not just to go back and listen to their music, but to see that dynamic shine on screen between all of them. And
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the one thing I was going to say that is a little disappointing is that because of the passing of Taylor Hawkins, the band, they had mentioned in interviews before that they had the idea of doing this in, like, having the Foo Fighters star in other movies and other genres, kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters and like Scooby-Doo, where they meet different people, different eras, different time zones and stuff. And so I doubt, I think it may be hard to continue that just because the blow, the sudden loss of Taylor. But I think I would definitely watch another movie with these characters of the bandmates solving crimes or get caught up in weird scenarios. But
the personalities of the bandmates here of the Foo Fighters it's singular. It
Dave
really
Grohl
is
great. Yeah, they're really
Yeah.
funny. Like, and again, the acting is not like the best acting you've ever seen, but it doesn't have to be because everybody's having a great time. They're all really funny, and I thought it was shot very well. The murders are creative, over the top, ridiculously gory, and
Yeah.
so I recommend this. It is out right now on streaming services. You may have to rent it at this time, and it may still be in some theaters right now. But Studio
Hmm.
666 by the Foo Fighters, I would check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to do that with my husband. I'm sure lots of fans all over the world are going to be doing that too. And holding up their little flashlights, not the light,
Yeah.
in the middle of the movie. That might be a little distracting, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
don't do that. You don't want to
It
ruin the
sounds
music,
like fun.
the movie experience.
Exactly. But speaking about putting movies together like this, like how they do it, the lighting, the action, the actual construction, who are the people behind the scenes that make
Right.
this work? Because there are hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people that work on these movies that bring them to life. It's not just, your A-list celebrity and, your big name
There are a lot
director.
of hands, a lot of effort to put a movie together, to put
Yes,
any project
yes.
together. So I had the fortunate opportunity to interview Joel Gill. He is a gaffer and a chief lighting technician. He's worked on music videos, movies, TV shows, and he is also my best friend. And so it was a real pleasure to be able to talk to him
Yeah,
and pick his brain about
yeah.
the industry. And so I'll let him explain what he does and everything that he can offer, all the insight that he has. But here's that interview with Joel Gill, based in Los Angeles, but he's joining us right now in Alabama. Joel, thank you so much for joining us on the Hub on Hollywood.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me.
So, really quick, because as long as I can remember, especially after high school, more so, you really got interested in film and shooting, and you've been working in the industry for how long now?
Shoot, man. I graduated in May of 2014, and I got on my first film set, I believe, on in June of that same year. So, shortly after graduation, and I've been really fortunate. I haven't had to work another job since I've started this. So, but yeah, man. So it's coming up on 8 years. Yeah, by this summer, it should be 8 years.
And what's a gaffer for those who are not aware?
Yeah, no, of course. So a gaffer is actually kind of like the head of the electric department. So, my crew and I are kind of in charge of like putting up all the lights. I kind of answer directly to the director of photography, and then me and my crew, try to bring his or her artistic vision from a lighting standpoint to life. We're also kind of responsible for trying to get people on set power that need power as well. So yeah, I'm just kind of leading the charge. Really, it's just what the gaffer is.
And you've worked on music videos, TV shows, movies. I saw that, and we've talked about this before too in the past. But you've worked with Flo Rida, Ariana Grande, Jason Derulo. What's that like? For the first time hopping on a music set. We've seen these musicians, these singers on TV and everywhere else. To see them in person for the first time, is there like a shock or what?
I feel like there's always a bit of the shock, but the shock is more just like I feel like we get to see them in a bit of a more natural setting. Like obviously the public only sees what they see on television, but you do get to see these people obviously in the flesh and like in between takes and kind of acting like a bit more of a normal person. So like it's kind of cool, I guess. Music videos are kind of interesting though. They're kind of notorious for being like the bottom rung of like what we do. Like
How
if
so or why?
well, they're the most disorganized, they're the lowest rates, there's the worst food, it's the longest hours, you get the worst budgets. And then I hate to say this, but like they always seem to the artists usually seem to be a little more full of themselves than like it's interesting. It's like this real legitimate A-list celebrities, like the top people, they're the ultimate professionals, right? But it's like you're like B-list, C-list celebs, the ones who want to be like they're the ones who
Right,
can be really
right.
difficult. And I feel like musicians are is just even more so. So you have difficult personalities. You got to contest with, and yeah, but a lot of people start their career in doing these music videos, and honestly, like I've learned so much in doing those music videos. which is like those are jobs that are notoriously kind of like turned down and like try to, people don't try to do music videos if they can avoid them. It's just kind of where you have to get your start, but like that's where you cut your teeth, like because they're not the most desired jobs. You get the opportunities to get your hands on certain lights and stuff like that you probably aren't going to be trusted to get your hands on bigger commercials or bigger features or long form narrative jobs. So yeah, man, and you know what, every once in a while too you do come across a music video that actually is pretty good as far as the money goes. You're still going to have the disorganization. It's still going to be long hours. It's still going to be a hard job. Food's probably still going to suck, but you'll run into one every once in a while where you get paid. So that's kind of cool too.
And I don't think you actually worked with him, because I think if I remember correctly, you said that you were working on a project with Logic, but then that may have fallen through, right?
Yeah, no, I remember I had to do some sort of job with Logic, and I remember like I guess they kind of canceled it like the night before and like told everyone except for like the gaffer and key grip. So like our crews like literally showed up and we were shooting at this guy's house, really nice house out in like Calabasas area from what I remember. But like knock on this guy's door and just like, here's Logic opening the door. He's like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" Like, "Hey, we're here for the shoot. We don't see anybody else, but we just, want to make sure we're here, we're on time." And he's just like, "Yeah, dude, like that got canceled. Like they didn't tell you?" Like it's kind of, he's really cool, really nice, friendly guy. Just kind of touch on some of the other artists you mentioned. Like Jason Derulo is like the most incredible dancer I've ever seen in person. And I worked multiple jobs with Chris Brown. I still think those are probably the two top, but Jason Derulo is a pretty incredible dancer. Ariana Grande's voice is absolutely incredible in person. She's also pretty tiny.
Really tiny.
It's like, yeah, but her voice is just so powerful. I mean, it almost like you almost feel like, like it almost like pushes you back almost. She'll kind of like, like do some riffs and stuff in between takes. It's kind of cool. But yeah, man, no, Logic was cool. Lives in a nice place, super nice guy. He offered us waters when we left. It was a hot day. So yeah, I have nothing but kind of, good thing to say about that guy.
No, Logic is, I love Logic. And so that would have been really cool to be able to work on something. But you also worked on many TV shows and movies. And very recently, you worked on 1883 with Sam Elliott, Tim McGraw, Faith Hill. And where did that shoot again?
So I only worked on the final 4 episodes of 1883. I was on the first unit, and I should also mention that I was not gaffing this job. On projects of that scale, unfortunately, I'm still a foot soldier. But yeah, we were shooting kind of throughout Texas, man. That was a cool show. It's anytime you get to work on a project of that kind of a budget and that kind of talent and resources, it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. It's very cold out there in that part of Texas at that time of year. So that was, just fighting the weather and the elements is probably one of the hardest parts of that job. But yeah, and got to work with Sam Elliott, living legend. And then, Faith Hill and Tim McGraw too. They're super awesome. I like Tim McGraw a lot in particular.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. And but yeah, man, no, it was a real cool show.
So you've worked in Texas, you just came from Mississippi, you're in Alabama right now. What is it? Is there much difference between working in Los Angeles as opposed to working out of state somewhere else where you're not familiar with the place at all? Like, what's the biggest, challenge for you?
Yeah, man, I think the biggest challenge is just the like infrastructure and like resources in these places, right? Like it's one of those things that like I didn't realize until I started working elsewhere outside of LA, but like we have everything that you could need in LA, all of the gear at multiple places. So, it's easy to find, much easier to source, especially if like there's a change or, if there's some sort of change in creative or whatever, you can still probably get what you need like during the same day and still make that happen. You don't have that luxury when you shoot elsewhere. When you shoot elsewhere, it's, this is a good example. I just completed a feature called From Black. We shot in this tiny town called Natchez, Mississippi, which is an incredible town, by the way. Enjoyed my time there. But like there's nothing in Natchez itself, right? Like the closest place that has any kind of like infrastructure resources is Jackson, which is about 2 hours away. And wow. Even at that, Jackson is extremely limited. So most of the time you're going down to New Orleans, which is 3.5 hours away. If they don't have what you need in there, then you can maybe try Mobile, Alabama, which I think is like closer to 5 hours away. But you can see where like, if something were to change in the creative, or like maybe I made a mistake and I forgot something, like that could kill you in that situation. Whereas, in LA, it's, I might even know somebody who actually owns whatever that is. And it's probably just a, short little drive to pick up, whatever that is. So that's like one of the biggest differences. Another big difference is the weather. Straight up, man, I see why LA became the hub, because the weather is beautiful, and this job becomes exponentially more difficult when the weather does not cooperate. And we faced a lot of that in Mississippi. We were dealing with a lot of rain, we were dealing with some crazy winds, we were dealing with a lot of lightning. And as an electrician is
not good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like another thing. And then honestly too, man, it's usually just crew as well. Obviously it's quantity of crew. There's just, these places don't seem to have quite as many crew as LA does. And I don't want to say that like they're necessarily like the quality of crew isn't there, but like I think every place I've traveled to, they have like the core people who work in these areas are pretty good. But the pool of like the pretty good workers in Los Angeles is just so big, and then unfortunately in some of these places too, it's like once you kind of get past that core crew, I mean, the experience and skill level, I think, starts to kind of drop off a little more drastically. Whereas, you can find, some people at kind of, I feel like a little, I don't know, at more levels and stuff in Los Angeles than, whereas in some of these other places, like they're like really, really, really good, or like kind of,
still
not
behind.
so good. Yeah, exactly. And it's just, it comes with the territory, when you work in a place where you can work every day, you're going to build up your skills, up pretty quickly. And these other places just don't have that luxury all the time. So I get it.
What do you hear much news from Boston area? Because Boston, Massachusetts, New England, we're seeing this boom. We've been seeing this boom in movies and TV shows being filmed here. A lot more projects being filmed here, and I think they have their system and how they're doing things running pretty well over here, because we've been doing it for years, and we're just getting more and more productions and projects out here. I heard that, I guess, the Boston local team, not to get anybody in trouble, but is it harder to work in Boston than, say, in Alabama or Texas right now?
Well, I've never worked in Boston. I hope I get to someday. I hear really good things about Boston, especially their crews. I hear their crews are pretty strong out there. I also hear that it is crazy busy, that there's work everywhere. But yeah, man, I also know that too, like, it seems like they're, at least from what I've heard, like their union is like pretty tight. Like they try to really, kind of keep it in the family, stay protected. So,
like hire local first.
Yeah. And you know what, if you have the locals to do it, I mean, I get it. Like, absolutely. You should, like, why wouldn't you? But like, there's, I've also heard that, like, it's so well, because of that, I've heard that like they're not the most friendly necessarily, like, some guys, like probably myself, who's based in LA, who, see me as like stealing a job, because they know that they seem to have guys who are more than capable to do this. And I get it, especially if they do have the crews that are capable to do this. The reality though is, like, not every place is like Boston, like where they actually do have like experienced, competent, like crews in higher numbers, So, but like, at least what I've heard is Boston is crazy busy. They're shooting some really, good, big stuff. And I've also heard that they have some really solid crew. One of my good buddies, he's actually a Salt Lake City based, gaffer, but he got his start in Boston. And, he's solid. He could work anywhere in the world where he wanted, if he wanted to. And he speaks pretty highly of him out there too. And And it makes sense because if they're that busy and they're getting that kind of, high quality work, on a regular basis, those those technicians are going to get really good. So yeah, but I'm still crossing my fingers, man. I want to work there. Like, it'd be cool. It's a great city.
Yeah,
I
the
remember I got.
weather.
Yeah. The weather's not as good as California. I can attest to that. It's yeah, we have like 2 weeks of really good weather. I'm kidding, but it's really bad. And so, as a former Californian, yeah, it's taking me a while to get used to this. So that's one thing that many people have to work around, and especially the crews around here. But you mentioned a little bit ago about working around the world, and you last year were in Greece filming a Disney film. What was that like? Because was that your first time ever in Greece?
So yeah, man, that was the first time ever in Greece, first time in Europe, second international job. But that was definitely like top three jobs in my career. I have one that I kind of reserve or revere as like the number one, but that one was pretty incredible. And I mean, the job itself was pretty difficult. I think it just kind of goes back to like the whole kind of like, for us, I think we could have used a little more manpower on our side, but like, also too, just like, I think that like there was a slight language barrier there between us and some of our local hires. I also think like some of our local hires weren't really used to like jobs of that like scale. So I think it was like, there's a little inexperience that also came into play there. And also too, man, it was like the hottest summer on record in Athens in like a decade, which is just crazy. It
Of
didn't
course,
help. Yeah. But it was awesome though, man. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Greece. The people there are amazing. Athens is incredible. I can't wait to go back. But that was a good job though too, because for myself, because this was the second time I got to experience working with, here in the United States, we use 120 volt power. Whereas in Europe and in most other places in the world, they're doing like using a 230, or 220, 240 volt system. So all the power when you work in like a place like that is like completely different, like the cable's different, the connections are different, the distribution boxes are different. And, and I mean, it's so it was good for me to get a second experience and like an experience like that, where it's like, 4 months of that kind of experience as, I feel like, I would feel much more comfortable now trying to take on a job elsewhere where that is the power system after getting that kind of experience. So it was great. It was great for my career. Again, I need to put out, I did not gaff that one. I was, hoping to gaff jobs of that size, someday. But yes, I was just a third, just, one of the first unit set lighting technicians. And yeah, man, I also got lucky too. I went out there with a really great crew, and that job wouldn't have been possible, and it wouldn't have been as fun if it wasn't for those guys I was out there with. That's for sure.
And before that, you actually were a teacher for a while. You were teaching lighting for, was it in somewhere in the Middle East, right? Was it Jordan?
Yeah. So I didn't actually, I did, that's the number one job, man, in like my career, the one that like I like loved the most. And it's kind of cool. I got contacted to do this job in Amman in Jordan, where apparently Jordan has become the preeminent place to film in the Middle East. And at the time, their unemployment numbers were like through the roof. I think it was like approaching 20%. So the idea was, I went over there with this program called the AFS, the American Film. Can I remember it?
We'll put it at the bottom right here.
Yeah. But it was the AFS, and pretty much it's like this like program that's like set up through the U.S. Department of State to kind of like help, like build diplomacy between the U.S. and other countries. So I was pretty much hired along with a buddy of mine, Mike Love, who's also a local 728 member. And we put together a like week-long kind of grip and electric workshop. And the idea was at the end, the goal of the workshop was to try and get these local Jordanians prepared to actually like work on these films when they come into town, so it was very simple stuff. There's only so much you can learn about the grip and the electric department within 5 days, but we at least try to make it so they could, like, still be on a film set and still positively contribute with what we were giving them. If you can even just recognize gear and just like run it from the truck to where it's needed, or wrap it up when we're done using it, I mean, that's tremendously helpful. So yeah, man, and that was just really cool because, like, sometimes, like, there's like, like my dad, for instance, like, worked in the emergency room and like saved lives for a living. And like, here I am playing with freaking lights and a camera. And, but that was really cool because I felt like I was like really like sincerely and positively contributing to, like, these people. Is like, we were like we weren't just giving them fish. We were trying to teach them how to fish. And so that was really cool. That was for sure, my favorite like job experience, up to this point. And it's my first time going to the Middle East. I feel like I probably didn't have like the Middle East very high up on my like travel plans, before that job. But Jordan's incredible, man. The people in Jordan are incredible. I still remember all of my, the participants in this workshop. I still keep in contact with some of them. I got to see Petra afterwards. I made a bit of a trip out of it, and I can't wait to go back to the Middle East. I would love to visit Jordan once again. So it was good because it just wasn't really on my radar, and this opportunity brought me over there, and it was incredible. So
And based on what you've heard, what other country would you like to work in next? Would you be more inclined to work more international films or projects?
yeah, I would love to, man. I mean, that's definitely one of the perks of this job is being able to travel. But I mean, I would love to do a job in the Philippines just because, that is like
Yeah.
the motherland. It's where mom is from. And so that would be really cool. I do love Mexico, and I know that, but I also know that they have a ton of crews, especially based in Mexico City. So that, I don't know how realistic that would be, but, I also love Mexico City. I've been out there, but, the entire country, every place I've been in Mexico is great. But yeah, man, I mean, I think off the top of my head, like, probably like the number one place I would love to do a job would be the Philippines, just to kind of, I would love to spend a little more time in my mother's homeland. And yeah, man, I know they do a lot of work out there, so that'd be a kind of a bit of a dream job.
So you're in Alabama right now. Can you tell me about the project you're working on right now, or is that still under wraps? Hush, hush.
So, like, I'll tell you, like, I guess what I feel like I can. So yeah, we're in Birmingham, Alabama, and I came here straight from Natchez, Mississippi after I finished that one. And we are shooting this film. I think the working title as it stands is called The Tutor. Like, school tutor or whatever. But it's kind of like a bit of a like horror psychological thriller type of thing. Kind of interesting. It's going to be tough. It's very ambitious. It's a 20-day shoot. So it should take me, until the end of the month, or beginning of May. But yeah, so that's why we're out here. We're gonna be shooting a couple weeks in some town called Alexander City, and then the other weeks in Birmingham proper. And yeah, so that's what we got going on over here. The Tutor.
Now, I think this is the same case for you because it is for me. Whenever I'm listening to the radio, watching the news on TV, I can't help but dissect it, like unwillingly dissecting the content or the audio or the video or the people, the talents. Can you or do you? Is it different now doing this job for so long? Is it different watching music videos, TV shows, and movies, knowing what you know now? Do you think that's not good lighting, or this could have been set up better, or is it more difficult to enjoy stuff?
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, I definitely like, I don't, I definitely like, I feel like the things I notice the most are like things that are actually done really well. And then like
Right.
certain shots are just like, damn, dude, like that shot, I'm sure sucked. Like, I'm sure the boys who were working on that shot just got slaughtered, like that stuff tends to stick out. And then every once in a while, you'll see something that's like a little like, ugh, that wasn't a very good job. But more so than not, I feel like what catches my interest is like the really good work that I see in like good idea. When I see like a beautiful frame that's lit, amazingly, it like actually makes sense to you in the way it's lit, like that catches my eye for sure. And then I find myself asking like, how did they do that? What did they use? And then I like miss all the dialogue in that scene and I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
That definitely for sure. And then also too, man, there's some stuff too that just sticks out. Which is like, like I said, this job is not hard, especially our job. Our job is like a real good kind of like middle point between like science and math and art, and then also too, it's a good like middle ground between like like the mental and the physical. And there are days, man, where the physical is just absolutely brutal. Our stuff is extremely heavy. You could be working in the rain. You could be working on tough terrain. Really great distances that you're covering with this heavy gear and stuff like that. So it's like there are certain jobs too where I'm just like, man, I'm glad I wasn't that guy.
What are you watching right now? Because recently I was really impressed with the cinematography of the Batman. I'm not sure if you saw it, but even though the movie is visually darker, probably the darkest visual, Batman movie we have so far, I thought the lighting was fantastic and incredible. The acting, great too, but I thought the whole feel and vibe of it was great. I'm not sure if you watched anything recently that you caught or noticed.
You know what, man? So for the last 5-6 weeks, I was working on that show in Mississippi, and I will say that was a very, very, very demanding show. And then also too, in our living accommodations, we were very limited with what we had to watch. So the last thing I watched, I actually did complete the whole first season of 1883.
Nice.
And I actually I thought it was actually done really well, man. I liked it. I thought the performances from the actors were great. Our costume design and like our art department, like they killed it. I think it all looked great. And I thought the cinematography was, pretty beautiful too. It was like that one, like is, like there were some night scenes for sure that we definitely like, put in a lot of work, but it was predominantly like daytime exterior. So we're not really contributing quite as much in like daytime exterior stuff. But regardless, I mean, even the stuff that we did do out in daytime, it looked great. So I thought that was actually a really good show, especially from a cinematography standpoint. But that was the last thing I watched, and I just finished like the last episode like a few days ago. So I'm actually looking for something. I'm probably gonna check that Batman, and then I'll hit you up and we can compare notes for sure. But yeah, and fortunately too, with the hotel I'm at here in Birmingham, I got options, on my TV. it's gonna be, I'm definitely gonna find some stuff.
Excellent. Well, Joel, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. If you want people to follow you, to find you, where can they do that?
If you want.
Yeah, no, I think it's Instagram, Joel Anthony Gill, all lowercase, all one word, Joel. Last name is Gill. So Joel Anthony Gill. And yeah, man, actually I just dropped off like a bunch of rolls of film yesterday, and it was all the pics I took of Mississippi. So a few days here, I think I dropped off like a total like 19 rolls between like 120 and like 35 millimeter.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'll be posting some photos from the From Black set, which was the film we just wrapped out there in Natchez, Mississippi. So starring Anna Camp from Pitch Perfect and John. So yeah, if you guys want to see some cool pics, hopefully, I have some good ones.
Joel, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And hopefully we can get you on the show sometime again.
Yeah, man, dude. Thank you so much for having me, man.
All right, James. That was such an interesting conversation. And yeah, there are so many ways that you can be a part of that growing industry that is just, it's exploding here in really Massachusetts and in New England. In no smart part because of a very generous film credit that we have here. A-list celebrities are just constantly in rotation in and around Massachusetts. Zendaya's in town right now, and with boyfriend Tom Holland. She's here for a movie called Challengers. The Gilded Age, which is on HBO Max, is shooting in Rhode Island. Kevin can F himself. The Holdovers, those are being casted by Boston Casting. And we have a couple of other active castings right now. So why don't you take it away, James?
Yeah, so I have one from Slate Casting. We're looking for people with disabilities for a new internet spot. They're looking for men, women, non-binary people between 18 and 35 years old. They're seeking both actors or people who may have one of the following interests, which include gaming, environmental volunteering, self-care enthusiasts, like, think fitness, meditation, other activities to support mental health. So this pays $1,500 if you are cast. This is shooting for 3 days in May in Boston. And it is a SAG-AFTRA or a non-union gig, so open to everybody. So if you are interested, send your current photo of yourself, headshot, resume, description of some of the relevant activities, where you live. Send all that to slateselftape3, the number 3, at gmail.com, slateselftape3 at gmail.com. Great.
And as I just mentioned, season 2 of Kevin Can F Himself is currently filming. They're shooting a ice skating scene later this week. That one just closed, but we're going to have much more castings from them on that. GWCI is the casting agency doing the Gilded Age, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. That's a little bit south of us, but still they are doing Gilded Age in Rhode Island. So second season of that, which I just watched the first season of the Gilded Age. Oh, so beautiful, so remarkable. If you love those kinds of period pieces, it is definitely worth the time in watching that. But you should come here to the Hub on Hollywood. Every week we will have new casting calls just for you, so that you can find out how you can find yourself behind the scenes, there with the actors, watching it all get made. Maybe you get to make friends with a Mr. Gill, just like James is friends with Joel there. So exciting stuff, James. And what are you watching now? Now we're moving into that part of the show.
Yeah, so to kind of wrap up, I'm kind of not rewatching anything new per se, but jumping back on the Cobra Kai train. My fiance and I, we got to episode 6 or 7 for, I believe we're in the 3rd season of Cobra Kai, and so so we just started again last night, and it's really fun. There's so many shows out there, so it's very easy to have one of like my favorite shows interrupted, and then it takes a while to get back into it. But we're getting right back into Cobra Kai. Again, if you haven't watched it already, I've already spoke highly of this show, the show that on paper doesn't make sense. Like, the Karate Kid, what's his name, Ralph Macchio, that movie from 30 plus years ago. It's a great TV show nowadays with the next generation, with his kids, and so I'll check out Cobra Kai. That's what I'm jumping right back into right now. What about you?
Okay, so I'm hopping onto the Bridgerton train. You're on Cobra Kai. I'm back on Bridgerton because Bridgerton season 2 has also come out, and it is just as fun, just as beautiful as the season 1. We're obviously moving on to sort of storylines that focus on the other Bridgerton siblings, and it's all about who's marrying who, and it's the next season of which young ladies are coming into society, and who's going to get the richest husband and the richest wife, and all of that. So if that's your thing, which it's definitely my thing, Bridgerton season 2, I'm about 2 episodes in so far, and it's got the love part, it's got the very beautiful...
Like the love, or like the passionate love? Well,
the passionate love part, okay. Yeah. It's definitely not something you want to watch with your parents or your children.
Like Euphoria, you don't want to watch that with your parents or your grandparents.
Oh my gosh! Have you seen the next season of Euphoria? Have you seen?
I haven't seen
any episodes at all.
I've just heard so much. Sex, drugs, rock and roll has like a lot of it, right?
And violence and just frontal nudity. Especially the first episode. Yes, a lot of male frontal nudity. A lot of those have to be prosthetics. Is all I'm saying. Is
you're that impressed?
I don't know.
Like,
I'm just saying that doesn't look real. Yeah, it's something else. I was like, it's almost difficult to feel shocked nowadays with shows. Like there's a lot that's been seen, a lot that's been tried. Especially the first episode of this new season of Euphoria, I was just like,
is it like a mature? Is it like a mature rating of like Degrassi? Do you remember? Did you ever watch Degrassi, however you pronounce it? It's like that.
I didn't
like
watch that so much. I saw
drama.
like a few episodes, but I never really got into it.
Okay, yeah. Again, I haven't seen Euphoria. I did watch Degrassi when I was a kid. Again, you could comment down below of how I'm butchering the name, but that's what it appears like. It's like high school, but like cranked up to 11 with all the bad, terrible things. But yeah, I mean, it looks interesting. I love Zendaya, so I'm sure I'm gonna dip in there and see what it's all about.
Oh my gosh, everything Zendaya is worth watching. So, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Just don't make sure the kids are not in the room.
No.
And yeah.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong watching us here on the Hub on Hollywood. Again, thank you so much for joining us for another week as we talked to not only Joel Gill, but also talked about Studio 666, remembering Taylor Hawkins, as well as with what we're watching. But if you are watching us on YouTube, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Thanks so much. You can also listen to us on any of the major podcasting streaming services and social media, right? Yeah. Right, Jamie?
Yeah. Just search us at Hub on Hollywood. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on TikToks. Come find us, join the conversation. We'll give you a shout out, just like we gave a shout out to James O'Leary today. And we're having so much fun, James. We're having so much fun. So we want you guys to join in with us, have those fights, have those battles, have those discussions online, and we will give you a shout out.
Excellent. Well, for the Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie. See you next time.
Bye.